Hello folks, I'm Ronald Mehta and welcome back to Digit.com. We are your digital aid and we provide free courses on the subject of business and marketing. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on advertising agency along with live examples and case study. The video covers close to 12 topics that fall under the gamut of advertising agency. Let's start with the first one. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on evaluating advertising effectiveness. Let's start with the introduction. The administrative exercise of relating the results of advertising to the traditional standard of performance and objectives is called assessment or evaluation of advertising. This evaluation is done to estimate the actual value of advertising and its performance. Evaluation of advertising is also called advertising effectiveness. It is an endeavor to know and understand the properly designed message of the company has reached the highest number of prospects at the minimum practical cost. Now let's look at the methods of evaluating advertising effectiveness. There are two major methods. The first, communication effect research. Communication effect research is also called copy testing. It attempts to find out if an advertisement is communicating successfully. Marketers perform this test 2 times, once before an ad is put into the media and once after it is broadcasted or printed. Now there are several methods for copy testing. First, questionnaire answer. The questionnaire answer method involves a draft of an advertisement coupled with some pertinent questions. The draft is sent to target consumers or experts of advertising along with questions and they have to answer. These answers and opinions are then analyzed after collection. It is determined based on this analysis whether a proposed advertisement is adequate or not. Moving on to the second, recall and recognition test. In recall and recognition test, customers are asked to see and listen to ads carefully. The customers are then asked to recollect the content of the advertisement. Magazines are circulated to consumers wherein test ads are placed. Later, these customers are contacted and interviewed. This method of recall and recognition is mostly used to ascertain the usefulness of an advertisement. Next, direct rating method. Customers are right away asked to rate the advertisement. These ratings are then evaluated to determine the success of an hour advertisement. This process is called direct rating method. Next, theatre test. The theatre test method is when random consumers are invited to watch a potential new television show along with some advertisements in a theatre. Consumers mention the brands of their preference in different categories before the show begins. The consumer is again asked to choose a preferred brand after viewing is completed. The potential changes in preferences measure the commercial's power to persuade. Next, on-air test. During this test, respondents are engaged to watch a show on a normal TV channel. Sometimes the respondents could be chosen on the basis of them having already viewed the show. After this, they are made to answer questions regarding the commercial they recall to have seen. Next, laboratory test. In laboratory test, an apparatus is used to calculate perspiration, heart rate, blood pressure, etc. to measure the bodily reaction of the consumers after watching the advertisement. And finally, neuromarketing. The implementation of neuroscience in the marketing field is called neuromarketing. Neuroscientists commonly use EEG or functional magnetic resonance imaging technology to track the functions of the brain. In a similar manner, neuromarketing tests directly use brain imaging, scanning, and other technologies to measure brain activity. This helps to quantify a subject's reaction to particular products, packaging, advertising, or any other marketing element. Now let's look at a few examples of brands which have adopted neuromarketing. First, PepsiCo Lay's. When releasing the baked Lay's product, women were the main focus of the campaign. The idea for single-serve packaging and the corresponding ad campaign was created with the help of the biometric response of these women. Next, Cheetos. Frito-Lay, a subsidiary of PepsiCo, has a brand of cheese tasting puffs named Cheetos. They hired a neuromarketing firm to understand how people's brains reacted when they ate Cheetos. After using the EEG technology on a group of enthusiastic, consenting subjects, it was found that people gained some sort of guilty pleasure from the feeling of getting their fingers smeared with orange dust. The brain scanning technology helped the firm to ascertain that customers responded passionately to the detail that eating Cheetos gives them orange fingers due to the residual cheese dust. Next method for evaluating advertising effectiveness is a sales effect research. The sales figure of a company helps measure the effectiveness of an advertisement. This effectiveness is evaluated through product surveys, response rates, questionnaires, toll-free numbers, and recognition tests. Sales effect research involves 2 methods: historical data and experimental research. Let's look at historical data. Researchers can calculate the impact of sales with historical data. This includes usage of statistical techniques which are advanced in nature. These techniques correlate the sales of the past to the advertising expenditure of the past. Historical data method observes a part of sales in correspondence to advertisements in the past, either on a current or lagged basis. In case the sales of the company have gone up in the past after a particular commercial has been released, then that commercial is considered to be highly effective. Next, experimental research. Some researchers measure the impact of advertising on sales with the help of experimental research. This particular method involves dividing the entire sales territory into 3 to 4 sub-areas based on some type of uniform data. In each group, the number of times an advertisement is inserted is different. In the first group, an advertisement is placed X number of times. In the second group, this number is doubled. In the third sub-area, the amount is tripled, while in the fourth sub-area, the amount is quadrupled. The sales of all these areas are then observed and compared and measured. This analysis is done with the intention of trying to find out the difference and impact of increased advertising efforts. Now let's look at some examples. First, Nike. Campaign Nike Just Do It. The slogan Just Do It is a trademark of Nike. It was coined in 1988 at a meeting with an advertising agency. Just Do It is not mere a slogan but one of the core components of Nike's brand. And the advertising agency to coin the slogan for Nike was Wadden plus Kennedy. Dan Wadden, the founder of the agency, gives the inspiration credit for the Nike slogan to Gary Gilmore's last word, "Let's do it." Result, the Just Do It campaign empowered Nike to significantly grow its share of North American domestic sports shoe business from 18% to 43%. From 1988 to 1998, the worldwide sales soared from $877 million to $9.2 billion. Moving on to the next example of Apple, campaign Get a Mac campaign. One of the most triumphant campaign ever for Apple was a Mac versus PC debate. These commercials, in an extremely clever manner, give the audience all the information that they need to know about the product. The objective of this commercial film series was to connect PC users, specifically Windows users, with the cliché of an unpopular nerd while at the same time depicting Apple Mac users as creative, young, attractive and lucky. The success of the commercial can also be owed to the fact that it was done in a tasteful way without being overt. Result? Media Arts Lab TWA created the Get a Mac campaign. It was awarded the Grand Effie at the 39th Annual Effie Awards in New York. There was an increase of 42% in the market share. It made record sale and had a great cultural influence. All of this was the result of the Get a Mac campaign. And now let's look at the importance of evaluation. It is a common opinion that a lot of advertising expenditure is wasteful. This deliberation can be avoided by proper evaluation. An evaluation helps in finding out whether advertising is in fact wasteful, and if that is true, how much of it is so. It supplies useful guidance for all media planning in the future by revealing the strong points and weak points of various media. The draft of a message or a copy can be tried out in advance. This will help in adopting preventive steps and reduce waste. Process of evaluation not only shows the advertisements which are less productive, but also gives reasons as to why they are less productive. This points out the sources for high effectiveness. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on evaluating advertising effectiveness. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on advertising agency. Let's start with the introduction. According to the American Marketing Association, an advertising agency is an autonomous business firm, comprises of imaginative, inventive, and business people. These group of people create, assemble, and put advertisements in advertising media. This practice is carried out for a seller who's looking for buyers for their products and services. Agencies have evolved into more detailed and specialized entities. These can be owned to the exceedingly intricate marketing and selling difficulties in the current period. A unique set of skills, knowledge, and technique is needed to plan, prepare, and place advertisements. Moving further, functions of advertising agencies. The spectrum of services an advertising agency provides to its customers can be categorized as follows. First, planning the ad campaign. Formulating the statement for brand positioning. Formulating the primary essence or attraction to be utilized in the advertising campaign. Organizing the features of the advertisement. Next, organizing the storyboard or music for radio or TV commercial and filming the commercial. Creating the advertisement. Next, implementing the advertising campaign by placing it in the chosen media mix. And finally, reserving duration and slot in the chosen media mix. Next, planning below the line activities. Agencies have to also deliver creative programs in order to gain consumers. It is just one element of promotion mix. Many companies expend a fairly huge fraction of their budget on below the line activities like PR, publicity, sales promotion, event sponsorship, direct marketing, point of purchase advertising, etc. And finally, an advertising agency needs to provide support systems. Before the creation and after the launch of a campaign, a research input should be given. Services in the area of market research are also provided by advertising agencies. Services pertaining to the popularity of several media, which helps clients in media planning, is also provided. Now moving on to the structure of advertising agencies. First, creative service department. Creative directors are head of this department. Art directors and copywriters are the subordinates of creative directors. The creative work of an advertising agency sets it apart from its competitive agencies. Hence, the strength of an advertising agency is the creative department. Next comes account management. The relationship between a client and agency depends on the client services director who is in charge of account services. Account means clients. Therefore, it is crucial for the client services director to have knowledge about both businesses. The duty of acquiring the authorization from clients for advertising plan, storyboards, rough ad, media schedule, and execution of the campaign lies with the client service director. Next, media department. The accountability of organizing a media plan lies with the media director. Some big agencies divide the media requirement into two parts: A. Media planners and B. Media buyers. A comprehensive strategy for clients is formulated by media planners, and all the negotiations of the deal with the media could be TV, radio, print, are managed by the media buyers. Next, management and finance. In order for an advertising agency to withstand and thrive in the future, it needs to organize its finances appropriately. It's crucial for an agency to make profit despite an extraordinary creative team. Next, other services. The structure of an advertising agency is determined by number of services it offers. It is possible that agencies may have different departments specializing in direct marketing, marketing research, publicity, PR, and participation in exhibitions and trade fairs. Now moving on to the types of advertising agencies. First, full service agencies. The clients are provided with all the services related to promotion and advertising. Full service agencies offer creative services, media research, media planning, media buying, and services associated with the implementation of the ad campaign. Next, creative boutique services. Services related only to creative work are delivered by creative boutique agencies. They give ideas for the campaign and help with the execution of the ideas. Services like media planning, buying, or research are not included. Next, modular agencies. Only a part of the advertising obligation is executed by modular agencies. Clients would need the help of other agencies to get the rest of the work done. For instance, one advertising agency can be employed for copywriting and paid based on the job done. Fourth, specialist agencies. Certain agencies gain prominence working in specific areas. These agencies are called specialists. Being a specialist has its own advantages. They understand regulatory, the needs of the clients, and the marketing environment. Next, agency networks and subsidiary of large agencies. Having branches worldwide is not reasonable for any agency. As it turns out, it is not cost effective. Although it is common for a minor advertising agency to unite with a big advertising agency, this practice helps in establishing an internal, that is national, or an international network and helps satisfy the needs of the clients. Next, in-house agencies. Sometimes a department is set up by an advertiser, as in the client, to conduct the operations of an advertising agency. This has two prime benefits. Negotiating directly with the media owner can save expense for securing space and time. Next, the client enjoys complete attention of the agency. It can grow into a full service agency over time, which now services many other outside clients. And finally, global agencies. Global agencies function at an international level. They primarily deal with multinational corporations projects. It is essential for the global agencies to provide regional connect in their campaigns. Big companies come to global agencies to create and implement advertising campaigns in various countries. Now let's look at an example of the big four global agencies which have several sub-agencies under them. The first one being WPP. WPP is a multinational communications, public relation, advertising, technology and commerce holding company. It has its headquarters in London, England. As of 2019, it was considered the largest advertising company in the world. WPP has stated owns several companies including advertising, media, PR and market research worldwide. WPP's notable advertising agency companies include Gray, Ogilvy, VMLY&R and Wunderman Thompson. WPP's digital company holdings include AKQA. WPP's public relation and public affairs company holdings include Hill Plus Norton Agencies, Norton Strategies, VCW and Ogilvy. Moving further, its media investment management company holdings include GroupM, Mindshare, Wavemaker and Essence, etc. Moving on to the next company which is part of the Big Four, Publicis Group. Publicis Group is a French public relation and multinational advertising company with its headquarters in Paris. By revenue, it is one of the largest and oldest communication and marketing companies in the world. Arthur Sadon heads the Publicis Group. It has national and multinational clients all around the world. Publicis Group agencies deliver traditional and digital advertising media services and marketing services. Next, the Interpublic Group of Companies. It is a publicly traded American advertising company. IPG Media Brands, Mullenlow Group, FCB, Marketing Specialist, and McCann World Group are the 5 big networks which constitute the company. It has also quite a few independent specialty agencies working in the area of sports marketing, healthcare, public relation, and talent representation. The 4th company to be part of the Big 4 is the Omnicom Group. Omnicom Group has its headquarters in New York City. It is made up of 5 prominent agency networks. One of these networks is the Media One Marketing Group, which as a parent company oversees more than 1,500 agencies. Some of the other networks are Diversified Agency Services, BBDO Worldwide, Omnicom Media Group, and TBWA Worldwide and DDV Worldwide. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on advertising agency. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on criteria for selecting an advertising agency. There are 7 criteria for selecting an advertising agency. Let's start with the first one, creativity. One of the most important criteria in selecting an advertising agency is a comparable implementation of the client's brief. Creative agencies go a step further than just informing about the brand. They have to do out-of-the-box thinking. Thus, they can instantly and easily attract customers' attention. Next, objectivity and initiative. The advertising agency's point of view about the product should be conveyed to the client. Advertising agency must attempt to present an unbiased approach and its suggested charm. Third, agency accreditation. The professional status of an advertising agency is confirmed after its accreditation. This guarantees a particular level of quality of the services to their clients. The code of ethics set by the media owners have to be followed by these agencies. Fourth, specialization. Clients are sometimes attracted by advertising agencies that specialize in specific field of business. For instance, very few advertising agencies deal with financial advertising as it is an extremely specialized area. Fifth, the scale of operation. A vast range of services is offered by large-scale advertising agencies under one roof. They have a benefit over small-scale agencies. Large-scale agencies bring along prestige, knowledge, and media connection. This is why clients desire large-scale agencies. Next, service fees. The basis of agency compensation is different. Compensation basis used to be a conventional form of remuneration for agencies. Now for their creative work, agencies are charging service fees. Before selecting an advertising agency, the client can compare different fees charged by different agencies. And finally, confidentiality. Product information and other sensitive details are shared with the advertising agency by the company. This information must not be exchanged with a third party. If an agency deals with a competitor's account, the company may not prefer doing business with the agency. Now moving on to guidelines for maintaining agency-client relationship. First, guidelines for the client. In order to make a beneficial advertising campaign, the client must give details of the products and other necessary data to the agency. Clients must behave towards advertising agency with courtesy. They must respect the team working on the campaign. Third, the client should share their ideas and recommendations with the ad agency. Fourth, giving approval to the advertising plan must not be delayed by the client. Fifth, the agency must be compensated as per the terms agreed to by the client. And finally, any situation which may lead to confusion, conflict, or misinterpretation with the advertising agency should be avoided by the client. Now moving on to the guidelines for the agency. First, any work by the client's competitors must not be accepted. If it is done, the client should be intimidated. Second, collection of information about the business like features of the product, position in the market, channels of distribution, etc. should be met with enthusiasm by the agency. The compensation terms must be discussed and finalized while accepting the assignment. This will prevent debates and misunderstanding in the future. Fourth, the agency should maintain communication with the client even if the work is still in progress. Fifth, regular feedback should be taken from the client about the quality of service and level of satisfaction with agency services. And finally, a progress report should be submitted to the client. Now let's look at the example of Weeden plus Kennedy, a famous agency and its clients. Weeden plus Kennedy was established by David Kennedy and Dan Weeden in 1982. It started off as a boutique shop in Portland with Nike as their only client. Weeden plus Kennedy now has offices in Amsterdam, Tokyo, Sao Paulo,
New York, London, Shanghai, and Delhi. They are the largest prevailing independent agency in the world. Their clients include KFC, Ford, Bud Light, and Old Spice. The agency has successfully aimed to deliver conventional, high-impact advertising for major brands. Along with the conventional methods, they continue to adjust their skills to contemporary storytelling equipment ranging from podcasting to AI. This willingness to adapt to modern times helps them gain business from modern brands like Instagram, OkCupid, Airbnb, and Lyft. Advertising industry battles to balance the demands of the client's competition and the ad board public. In these trying times, Weeden plus Kennedy work continues to offer inspiration with an old-school commitment and attending demanding creatives. Now let's look at the work of Weeden Kennedy for its client. As stated before, Nike has been their first client and continues to do so even now. So the Nike campaign entails the Just Do It campaign coined by Dan Weeden. Next, Is It the Shoes campaign in 1988. Next, If You Let Me Play 1995. ESPN's This Is Sports Center in 1995. Miller's High Life Man in 1998. Honda's Cog in 2003. Heineken's Beer Run in 2005. Coca-Cola's Happiness Factory. Moving further, Old Spice's famous campaign, The Man Your Man Could Smell Like, P&G's Thanks Mom campaign, Chrysler's famous It's Halftime in America, in India, Make in India campaign, Secret's race in 2016, Dilly in advertisement titled Banquet, and Nike Nothing Beats a Londoner 2018. So that's it folks, this brings an end to the topic on criteria for selecting an advertising agency. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on agency compensation. The agency compensation entails 4 methods. First, fee payment method. Second, commission method. Third, cost plus method. And fourth, performance-based method. Let's look at each one of them briefly. Starting with the fee payment method. The agency compensation consists of the service fee only for providing the service. It is reasonable for both parties. The client gives money according to the services delivered by the agency. The fair return is received by the agency as well. Next, commission method. The media owner pays a certain % of commission to the agency on the cost for the media space time purchased by the agency. The commission rate is different for each media, obviously TV being the most expensive. The agency bills the client the rate charged by the media owner including the commission. And while paying to the media owner, the agency deducts the commission. Moving to the third, cost plus system. When many services are expected out of the agency and the media billing is small, this method is adopted by the client. When services like making brochures and catalogs etc. are needed and there's a launch of a new product, this method is used. Here the client consents to pay out-of-pocket expenses and the employee cost along with a specific percentage of the amount to cover the overheads and profits of the agency. Next, and the final one, performance-based compensation. Performance-based compensation is deduced depending on how much of the advertising goal is achieved. For instance, objectives can be determined as growth in the sale by 15% or boost in brand awareness by 20%, etc. The achievement of objectives will determine the pay of the agency. This can give rise to a lot of misunderstandings and conflicts between the agency and client. The sales objective and their achievements are based on many other factors like the features of the product, pricing, performance, distribution, quality, etc. and not just on the advertising. Now moving on to an example where an advertising agency WPP won the $600 million pitch. Client Walgreens Boot Alliance believes its $600 million integrated marketing and communications review conducted in the middle of COVID-19 and won by the agency WPP has created a new client agency model that is genuinely revolutionary in several ways. WBA and WPP also agreed to a large element of outcome-based remuneration and a single profit and loss account across all the agency disciplines, including creative, media, and public relations. WBA, the owner of pharmacy chains Walgreens in the United States and Boots in the UK, has used WPP services since 2017. The one thing that we don't want is the outside world to just think that this is rehiring of the holding company. As stated by Vineet Mehra, WBA's Global Chief Marketing Officer, he stated, "What we are doing is almost relaunching the partnership again." To add to it, Mark Reed, the chief executive of WPP said, WPP has changed about 8 of the 10 senior agency leaders who worked on WBA during the review process, which resulted in the holding company beating Publicis Group in the final round after Omnicom dropped out at an earlier stage. Just to add a note here, a $600 million pitch in 2020 was a big win for WPP amid the pandemic. The next company to go for a review is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is set for a $4 billion account review. Coca-Cola has announced that it will hold a $4 billion review of all its media and creative accounts worldwide. A spokesperson from the Coca-Cola company told Ad News that the review was a part of a decision to fundamentally transform and dramatically improve effectiveness and efficiency of its marketing investments. By improving our processes, eliminating duplication, and optimizing spend, we will generate significant savings to fuel reinvestment in our brands, as stated by the spokesperson. The spokesperson says the review will include creative, production management, shopper, and experiential marketing services. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on agency compensation. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on advertising budget. Let's start with the introduction. A comprehensive plan or expenditure for advertising actions is called the advertising budget. It establishes a threshold for advertising expenditures. It decides how the money will be allotted for expenditures. It controls the spending over a certain period, and it is an assessment of a company's promotional expenses over a certain period. Moving forward, the features of the advertising budget. First, it is a basis for advertising plan. Ahead of spending any money on advertising, the organization plans on how the money will be split up. The money can be paid out for several functions, like the selection of media, marketing research, media buying and payment for advertising and additional promotional exercises. Next, it also acts as a planning and controlling device. Information about the amount allotted for advertising activities at any particular period of time is given to the marketing department by it. Therefore, plans can be created about expending money on building the campaign, purchasing different medias for advertising, and further promotional exercises. Next, sets limit to advertising expenditure. Limit as to how much money should be used in advertising is set by the budget. Being careful of the payment authorized for a particular duration, budgets are allotted for several activities. Next, time frame. When a fresh commodity is launched by the company, the advertising budget is commonly made for a year. Although, in particular situations, the campaign can go on for more time, and here the budget is created for a longer duration. Next, brings coordination with other functions. An advertising budget cannot be determined in seclusion. Fund allocation for different promotional instruments like sales promotion, event sponsorship, incentives to salespeople, and public relations need to be considered while designing it. Now moving on to the factors to be considered while setting an advertising budget. First, corporate objectives. The advertising expenditure will vary according to the goals of the campaign which the firm wants to achieve. The goals could be to improve sales, build brand awareness, cultivate loyalty, battle the competition, build an image, or to launch a new product. Next, the nature of the product itself. An advertising budget is reliant on the category of the product. Consumer products advertising uses mass media more than industrial products. Therefore, products like FMCG goods and consumer durables will have a higher advertising budget. Next, the product life cycle. Each commodity has a life cycle. A life cycle has different stages like introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. During the introduction stage, a sizable amount of budget is used in advertising. Competitive advertising is a necessity in the growth stage. During the maturity, a fairly lesser amount is spent on advertising. The next, the budget period. As stated earlier, normally an advertising budget is made for a year. Sometimes, to accomplish their extended period marketing goals, businesses may create a long-term advertising budget. That's when an advertising campaign may be planned for more than a year. Next aspect to be considered is the competitor strategy. Advertising expenses will be huge if the market has strong competition. Other companies are obliged to increase their advertising expense if any competitor boosts their advertising budget. Moving on to the size of the market. The size of the market can be either global or national. Depending on the market size, the advertising budget will be high or low. Multinational companies, because of their international range, spend a lot of money on advertising. Next, availability of finance. Depending on the budget that is fixed by the advertisers, media mix, event sponsorship, sales promotion, and the campaign are planned. It is vital to avoid overspending by being very mindful about the available budget. Also, the importance of middlemen. In product marketing, a company heavily depends on its middlemen to nudge its product. Thus, the middleman needs to be given more commission. If it is such, then there will be a very low advertising budget. Although, if the company depends very much on advertising, then the budget will be high. And finally, some amount of budget needs to also be earmarked for crisis management. Sometimes, unprecedented shifts in the marketing environment can influence even the greatest modeled advertising plan. In times of crisis, an advertiser will need contingency funds which should be kept aside by him or her in the first place. Now moving on to some examples, the first one being Budweiser's spend on the Super Bowl. Budweiser approximately paid $470 million to air 135 ad plugs in the 54 Super Bowls, becoming the only firm to have at least one commercial run in each Super Bowl. Following Budweiser, Pepsi was recorded as the second highest investor, spending more than $320 million, followed by Coca-Cola at the third space, spending around $200 million. Budweiser's parent company, Anheuser-Busch, reaches over 100 million US TV viewers through Super Bowl Sundays every year and promotes vintage brands such as the Budweiser and the Bud Light. According to industry experts, Budweiser paid $42 million for a 4-minute ad in 2018. Next example, BMW in James Bond's movie GoldenEye. BMW spent $3 million for the Z3 Roadster product placement and earned about $240 million in advance sales solely. Next, the final example, Nike. Nike spent about $3.59 billion for advertising in 2020. Nike's spending on advertisements has remained fairly constant over the years. In the last 5 years, Nike has spent a total of $17.54 billion on advertising, which is roughly about $3 to $4 billion a year. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on advertising budget. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video.
In this video, we are going to cover the topic on methods of preparing an advertising budget. Let's start with the methods. First, percentage of sales method. The percentage of the advertising budget is dependent on the sales of the year. In the percentage of sales method, the percentage can be determined on the basis of sales of the past year or the predicted sales for the coming year. It can also be an amalgamation of both. Informal budget estimation is achieved through this easy and common method. Next, unit of sales method. Both the expense kept aside for advertising and sales of a company's product have to do with this method. Here, for every unit sold, a percentage of the price is reserved for the advertising. For example, every ₹5 from a ₹50 chocolate sold by a company could be reserved for advertising. Next, task objective method. The pre-decided marketing objectives of a company is a focus of the task objective methods. It highlights how advertising helps in achieving marketing objectives, and it also helps the company decide on the advertising budget in order to obtain these objectives. For instance, this method helps the manufacturers concentrate their efforts on attaining objectives while fixing marketing budgets. Some companies may want to spend more on advertising while launching a product or brand. Fourth, the competitive parity method. The amount spent by competitors for their advertisement is the basis of an advertiser's advertising budget conclusion. The advertising budget of the competitor is attempted to be matched by an advertiser. This is a very disputable method with many advantages. First of all, the competitor's objective might differ from the advertiser's objective of marketing. Secondly, it is presumed that the expenditures by the competitors are optimal. Moving on to the fifth method, brand history method. The brand's product cycle is kept in mind while deciding the budget in this method. An established brand will need less advertising than a new brand. Since new life has to be breathed into the declining stages of a brand, they need more advertising. Next, all you can afford method. In this method, first fixed and variable expenses are met, and then advertising budgets are set. It is a method used by conservative management to prevent overspending and is irrational. This can be followed by businesses in the introductory stages for small scale when they have budget constraints. Next, quantitative methods. Regression analysis that depends on cross-sectional data and time series data are the quantitative models that are used by advertisers while they allocate budget. The previous advertising over time and expenditure recorded as time series data. The data relating to advertising sales and expenditure at a particular time period in the past in various geographical markets and areas are recorded as cross-sectional data. Since quantitative methods use a lot of computer software while planning, it is becoming very popular. And finally, share of voice method. In this method, spending on the dominant brand in the company's product category will be lower than its market share. For the other brands, the brand will spend either equal or greater than their market share. Moving on to some examples of advertising budget. Heineken. In 2019, Heineken spent over 10% of its media budgets to promote When You Drive, Never Drink and other responsible consumption awareness campaigns. This was a responsible consumption awareness campaign that ran in more than 60 markets. The firm used research and data analytics to see how will the consumers receive the message. Next example of Heineken, where it pumped £8.5 million into alcohol-free and premium lager. A huge amount of money was spent on advertising Heineken 0.0 lager. This was the biggest campaign for an alcohol-free beer in Great Britain.
The ads were shown on digital and social media, cinemas, TV, and the on-trade channels. The idea behind the campaign was to show that Heineken 0.0 lager was relevant in all situations and moments that needed a beer handy, especially non-alcoholic. Moving on to the next campaign by IKEA. IKEA spent about 150 to about 180 crores on advertising in India. It has opened its second outlet in Mumbai and the focus now has shifted to Delhi and Bengaluru. And the final example on Budweiser. Budweiser spends big on Super Bowl. Budweiser approximately paid $470 million to air 135 advertisement plugs in the 54 Super Bowls, becoming the only firm to have at least one commercial run in each Super Bowl. Following Budweiser, Pepsi was recorded as the second highest investor, spending more than $320 million, and Coca-Cola, the third, spending around $200 million. Budweiser's parent company, Anheuser-Busch, reaches over 100 million USD viewers to Super Bowl Sundays every year and promotes vintage brands such as Budweiser and Budweiser Light. According to industry experts, Budweiser paid $42 million for a 4-minute ad in 2018. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on methods of preparing an advertising budget. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on copywriting. Let's start with the introduction. The process of writing advertising promotional material is called copywriting. The text that we see on billboards, advertisements, brochures, emails, catalogs, website, etc. is the responsibility of copywriters. Copywriters should get the reader to take action, which is very different from news or editorial writing. The action could be to buy, engage, or opt in with a service, a company, or product. Many a times, a copywriter is said to be a salesman in print. Moving forward, an example of Daihatsu. The Japanese car company Daihatsu is recognized for its off-road vehicles. The copy here on the right is quite amusing, witty, and a bit tongue-in-cheek. The added advantage of the copy was the line translated easily in the pictorial ad as well, which was, picks up 5 times more women than a Lamborghini. Moving further, let's look at the elements of an advertisement copy, starting with headline. The words in the attractive position of the advertisement are called the headline. Those words are placed such as to get more interest and will be read first. The letters of the headline are commonly bigger than the other portions. Provocative headline, informative headline, and label are some varied types of headlines. Next on line, subheads and body copy. Subhead captions merely broaden the thoughts in the headline. This headline makes the reader read further. Subhead lines are also called the bridge between the copy text and the headline. A body copy contains the entire story of the service or the product which the marketer wants to convey. Benefits, utility, and the features of the product are covered by the body copy. Moving further, slogans and illustration. Many a times, successful headlines turn into slogans. The recurrent usage of it makes it famous among the viewers. One goal of a slogan is to give continuity, while the other is to memorize, reiterate the statement amongst consumers. Example, De Beers Diamonds Are Forever. Fourth, identification and closing idea. The content with the signature, logo, or the seal of the company as provided is the identification and closing idea. This identifies the advertiser or sponsor. The emphasis of the closing idea component lies in action. Urging the buyer to purchase the product is the action that is emphasized. Now moving on to certain principles of copywriting, with the first one being of print media. Copy in relation to print advertisements refer to the textual communication content of an advertisement. It entails an attractive headline, number 1. The critical element in any print advertising is the headline. The primary objective of a headline is to steer readers into the body copy. Next, shape the subheadlines. While the headline grabs the attention of a reader, a subhead should explain the content further. Next, writing the body copy. The textual element of an ad is known as the body copy. The emphasis of the body copy lies in the exact facts of the service or the product. Next, clarity. Easy and understandable words and sentences are chosen. The reader should completely comprehend how the product will benefit the user. Next, the U approach. U approach includes writing from the point of view of the readers. Next, highlighting USP. The USP of the product, either through the headline or slogan, should be highlighted by the copywriter. Next, match the illustration. The illustration should be in alignment with all the elements of the copy. Basically, copy and illustration post should translate the same meaning. Next, the content obviously should be interesting. For the sake of the readers, an attempt to make the copy exciting and desirable should be made by the copywriter. And finally, tagline. At the climax of the advertisement, to fulfill the creative idea, a tagline should be used. Now moving on to the principles of copywriting for outdoor media. Out-of-home advertising is another name for outdoor advertising. Neon signs, posters, kiosks, printed displays, electric displays, etc. are part of outdoor advertising. They are put up in public places like airports, gardens, streets, bridges, highways, bus stands, railway stations, etc. The guidelines are: first, the copy has to be brief. Next, has to be attractive. Third, a very dominating illustration. Size should be bigger and larger. Fifth, at the exact location. Sixth, legible enough to understand. Seventh, correct presentation. And finally, proper maintenance of the display. Now moving on to some examples of copywriting. First, Nike. Nike celebrated 13 years of the great tagline "Just Do It." Recently, the athletic and footwear brand stated its opinion on an ongoing issue. Formula and NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick's close-up face was featured in an ad with a copy that said, "Believe in something even if it means sacrificing everything." Luckily, the ad hit the right spot with the right consumers. Analysts claim that as a result of the ad, the company gained $6 billion in market value. Next example, Norwegian Airlines. Norwegian Air's Brad is Single campaign. Norwegian Air, a low-cost airline, immediately jumped at the opportunity to use the copy "Brad is Single." They used the split of Brangelina in 2016 to advertise low-price tickets to Los Angeles. The campaign is a perfect example of timely copywriting in reaction to a significant news story. Because it was huge news at the time, little context was needed. Next, L'Oreal's Paris. This is an ad for men. Ad agency McKen worked with L'Oreal Paris, a makeup brand, on the campaign. This genius campaign was concentrated on workplace gender inequality. The copy read, "This is an ad for men. Hire more women in leadership roles. We are all worth it." The campaign is bold and packs a punch. It keeps the content to the point, helping readers understand facts without any arguments. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on copywriting. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. We are going to cover the topic on concept testing versus copy testing. Let's start with concept testing. Before introducing a product, companies study customer acceptance of the product. This is called concept testing. It is not the same as packaging testing, brand testing, or advertising testing. The focus of this method is the product idea. It is the stage at which concept is created during the construction process of the new product. The creation of concept can be done in many forms during concept testing. Due to the technological advances, there are times when the creation of concepts are an incident. In other situations, creation of concept is done deliberately with the help of qualitative research, problem detection surveys, and brainstorming sessions. Concept screening surveys may be required in the presence of various alternative concepts in the beginning stages of concept testing. Concept screening surveys help narrow down the number of options available. But they do not give any detailed insight into the options, nor do they compare to regulatory databases due to the association between concepts. Moving on to copy testing. The influence of advertisement on customer response, behavior, and feedback is determined on the basis of this field of marketing research. It addresses media channels like print, television, internet, social media, outdoor, and radio, and is called pre-testing. PACT, full form for Positioning, Advertising, Copy Testing, was released by a group of 21 ad agencies in 1982, like Tarsis, NWIR, Gray McKinnon, Ogilvy and Mather, Needham Harper and Streets, Young and Rubicam, and J. Walter Thompson, that described features of a good copy testing system. According to PAT, a good copy system must, first, provide necessary measurements that relate to the objectives of the ad. Second, seek agreement regarding the ways in which results can be used before individual test. Third, generally single measurements are not enough to survey an advertisement's performance. Hence, multiple measurements must be provided. Next, help decide whether multiple exposures to the advertising stimulus is required. Then, acknowledges that alternative execution of finished pieces of copies must be similarly finished, and these finished pieces can be analyzed better. Next, prevent exposure context leading to bias by providing controls. And finally, the basic points of sample definition are considered. Moving on, 3 factors that have to be addressed in copy testing. First, whether or not to test. Majority of local advertising is untested, and a lot of national advertising copies are used without copy testing formally. Testing requires time and money cost. This in turn can delay the launch of a campaign. In the presence of substantial advertising, copy testing proves to be more useful. Second, what and when to test. Copy testing can be done either at the production stage end, during the layout stage, after launching the campaign, or the creative process beginning. The stages at the beginning are called pre-test, whereas the stages at the end are called post-test. Qualitative research like group interviews, in order to obtain reactions to copy ideas, are required during testing at a creative process beginning. Quantitative research that measures the influence of advertising is required during post-testing. Both pre-testing and post-testing can be done in cases where a huge amount is invested in advertising campaigns. Please note, pre-testing and post-testing is covered in one of our videos on advertising effectiveness. Third, what criteria or test to use? The nature of the variable of response used during copy testing can help distinguish it. The focus of a copy test, irrespective of the other important factors to consider, is the criterion or the dependent variable. The factors of copy test strategy demonstrate what certain test measures. Moving on to one of the examples of copy testing, and the method used is neuromarketing. Neuromarketing is a new field of marketing which uses medical technologies such as functional magnetic resonance imaging to study the brain's response to marketing stimuli. The brands in question, the first one is PepsiCo's Lace. When releasing the baked Lace product, women were the main focus of the campaign. The idea for single-serve packaging and the corresponding ad campaign was created with the help of biometric responses of these women. Next, Cheetos. Frito-Lay, a subsidiary of PepsiCo, has a brand of cheese-tasting puffs named Cheetos. They hired a neuromarketing firm to understand how people's brain reacted when they ate Cheetos. After using the EEG technology on a group of enthusiastic consenting subjects, it was found that people gained some sort of guilty pleasure from the feeling of getting their fingers smeared with orange dust. The brain scanning technology helped the firm to ascertain that customers responded passionately to the detail that eating Cheetos gives them orange fingers due to the residual cheese dust. And that's how PepsiCo was confirmed that the ad from Cheetos was a big hit. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on concept testing versus copy testing. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on elements of TV commercial. Let's start with the introduction. Television commercials are compelling tools that can be used to persuade viewers into adopting a specific point of view on a topic. It is also used to convince people to buy goods and services. These advertisements try to target people's emotions. Their aim is to convince them to feel that it is necessary to believe in a particular point of view or to purchase a product or service. Moving on, dialogues, images, music, slogans, and many types of special effects are used to attract viewers. TV advertisements has two sections. These are the video, that is the visual part, and audio, which includes music, spoken words, and various sounds. The creative process starts with the video because TV is better as a visual medium than an auditory one. Moving on to the elements of TV commercial, starting with the first one, testimonials. Testimonials can be those of familiar or unfamiliar people. People are interested in celebrities. Around a third of all TV advertisements have celebrities, mostly athletes and actors. This method uses a presenter who stands before a camera and reads out the copy directly to viewers. The person speaking may display the product and at times show what it does. The celebrity should be well loved and trustworthy. Example in this case is Adam Levine and a testimonial for Proactive in a TV ad. Next, demonstration. This method is popular for some varieties of products. This is because television is the best way of showing the viewer how a product works. For instance, how a spray kills a mosquito, how hair color is applied. Shots taken from up close should be used while creating a demonstration commercial. This helps viewers see things clearly. Example, Jennifer Lopez's brand JLo Beauty anti-aging skincare line advertisement where JLo herself is demonstrating how to apply the product. Moving on, close-ups. Television is a medium of close shots. Close shots may be used to demonstrate a fast food chain's delicious finish of hamburgers. In this method, the audio is said off-screen. Example, McDonald's Perfect Made Perfecter campaign by Whedon plus Kennedy. The ad campaign involves taking close shots of the Quarter Pounder. Moving on to storyline. The storyline method resembles making a short film. The difference is that the audio is delivered off-screen. The next element focuses on comparison. Comparing two products answers the consumer's queries. Usually, it is compared to the leader in the product variety. Example in this case is Fairy versus Persil. Persil complained to the Advertising Standard Authority about Fairy's ads. They argued that Fairy's claim to last twice as long as other brands is misleading. But Advertising Standard Authority backed Fairy as a company's claim could be substantiated. Moving on to the next element of TV commercials, slice of life. Slice of life is a dramatic technique that has been used for some time. In it, actors recite a story and try to draw viewers to the brand. It is a short mini play in which the hero is the brand. Most slice of life ads start with a problem which the brand fixes. The most famous slice of life ad campaign is of P&G's Thank You Mom campaign. For the 2010 Olympics, P&G wanted to turn its corporate reputation into a competitive advantage by leveraging its global scale and uniting its 34 brands under one voice. We didn't make the athletes or our heroes, we celebrated their moms. We created a fully integrated Thank You Mom campaign that acknowledged a mom's rightful place in these games, as stated by P&G. The results of the campaign. Thank You Mom was the biggest and the most successful global campaign in P&G's 175-year history, with a $500 million in global incremental P&G sales, 76 billion global media impressions, over 74 million global views, and over 370 million Twitter interactions. Moving on to the next one, customer interview. Most people shown in TV ads are professional actors, etc. The customers interviewed are non-professional. Having customers talk in the ad sounds more authentic and genuine. For example, Dove soap ads, which feature regular customers to talk about the benefits and the glow on their skin. Moving on to the other elements of humor and animation. Using humor is an old and popular method with both viewers and copywriters. It makes the ad more attractive. Next, animation. An animation is made up of artists' inanimate drawings. These are then photographed on motion picture film, one frame at a time. They come to life when a film is projected because of motion. Cartoons are the most popular type of animation. This is a commonly used technique for children's commercials. Animation can also be used to show a product's technical details in an easier way. And finally, we move on to the last elements of soundtrack and music. First, soundtrack. The soundtrack of the ad may be recorded either during the videotape or film shooting or before or after shooting in a recording studio. If the audio is recorded while shooting, actual people's voices are used in the advertisement. The most famous soundtrack is of Phil Collins and Cadbury, The Drum in the Air Tonight. It is one of the most iconic of all time. It's used to its full potential in Cadbury's ad, which shows a gorilla deeply feeling the music as he waits to pound out the solo. Sure, it has nothing to do with the chocolate, but it shows that with a great song, you don't really have to make a lot of sense. The other one is about music. Music has the ability to share moods and emotions in a way nothing else can. Thus, the music can either make the TV advertisement a hit or ruin it. The example in this case is the band Europe and Yoko. Yoko is known for their funny, memorable ads. They knocked it out of the park yet again in 2015. The stadium anthem, The Final Countdown, is played ironically as a man waits for his microwave burrito. The band Europe even made a cameo in the commercial. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on elements of TV commercial. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on advertising testing. So what is advertising testing? The standards that determine the success of ad campaigns are always sought by advertising agencies. Comparing and analyzing the advertising campaign with the marketing and advertising objectives is how the influence of advertising is measured. It is ensured that consumer reactions are explored and investigated on the basis of copies with the help of advertising testing. The two stages at which testing influence of an advertising can be set are: first, pre-testing, that is measured before the campaign launch, and second, post-testing, measured through chosen mixed media after the promotional tool and campaign launches. Now let's look at the methods of pre-testing and post-testing. They broadly entail two types of method, that are communication effects and sales effect, and there are many sub-methods within each of them. Let's look at each one of them briefly, starting with pre-testing communication effect. The first method under this is the opinion and attitude test. Advertising effects are measured by some of the initial methods in these tests, starting with, first, dummy advertising media vehicle. A dummy vehicle is used to place test ads in this method. The vehicle is a replica of the real advertising medium. For instance, a magazine that looks the same as the original can be created by the agency. Advertisements, news, stories, and editorials are a part of every dummy vehicle. Respondents are asked questions about the editorial and advertising content after they have been asked to go through the magazine like it was the original publication. Next, consumer jury method. Opinions about the quality of advertisement are sought from the respondents. For instance, questions about which advertisement appeals to them the most, which is the most interesting advertisement in the publication, which is the most convincing advertisement, etc. The next in line is the order of merit. Respondents in this method are asked to place a series of advertisements given to them in order with reference to the communication criteria provided. Finally, a total score is calculated on the basis of ranks of advertisements provided by respondents. The rank of advertisement increases from number 1 to higher numbers. Moving on, attitude scales. A person's emotions against an object are determined with the help of attitude. People's feelings about an advertisement and brand are sought by advertisers. There is a 7-point bipolar scale in this method through which respondents requested to rank their answer. This is the way of advertising through which consumer reactions are measured. And finally, paired comparison method. It might be difficult for some respondents to rank more than 5 or 6 ads in order of merit. 2 advertisements are to be judged simultaneously in this method. The better of the 2 ads are to be shown by the respondent. Every advertisement is paired with all the others. For instance, in a set of 5 copies, 1 is compared with 2, 3, 4 and 5 individually. Now moving on to the second method under pre-testing, which comes under communication effect, is the mechanical laboratory method. Non-verbal responses by customers are measured with the help of mechanical aspects like an eye camera. Subjectivity is minimalized with mechanical method in testing. These are expensive methods. The motivational level of respondents is measured with word association test, detailed interviews, and thematic appreciation test, which are examples of these techniques. The factors that influence consumer behavior are understood with the help of these techniques. The concept evaluation phase before an ad is created is where the outcomes of these techniques are mostly useful. Moving on to pre-testing, looking at the sales effect. Under that, there are 2 methods. First, inquiry test. As the name suggests, the amount of inquiries that an ad receives is the basis of measuring the potential influence of advertising in this method. Coupons, samples, and free gifts are offered to consumers by advertisers. An advertisement's influence is indicated by the amount of inquiry it receives. Next, sales, experimental, and test markets. A test retail outlet consists of product packages without identification marks that are grouped together. Card with description and an advertising message is placed in front of the package. Test market techniques can be used by organizations to quantify sales effect. The weakness of test market method are that they are expensive, time consuming, and correct test markets need to be selected. Now moving on to post-testing under that communication effect. The first, reading test. Advertisements are run after which these tests are conducted to figure out how many people notice, see, and read specific ads. Advertisements seen by respondents in publications are to be identified. They are asked to sort these advertisements into categories. Next comes the recall test. The memory of a respondent is the basis for this test. The ads seen by the respondents have to be recalled and named by them. Only if the information, theme, and components of the ad are recalled by the respondent, the ad copy is successful. Moving on to the third, attitude change measure. The influence of advertisements and promotional tools in shifting the opinions of customers about the company is analyzed with the help of attitude measurement test. It is a common assumption that consumers only buy products from a brand which they have a good opinion of. Advertising campaigns are launched by companies to correct the opinions created by bad publicity. The influence of advertising campaigns is quantified by companies to see its effect after the launch of a campaign. And finally, post-testing sales effect, the measure of past sales. The influence of released advertisements is understood by companies by analyzing past sales. A quantifiable indicator is obtained with this method. Since it is difficult to differentiate the effect of promotional tool with advertising on sales, past sales cannot be the appropriate basis of measuring advertising effectiveness. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on advertising testing. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on media relations. Now let's start with the definition of media relations. Media relations has to do with an organization working alongside media to keep people aware of its aims, practices, and policies in a good, credible, and steady way. Media typically entails journalists from thousands of magazine publications, newspapers, TV, and radio stations. Usually, this implies working with the people who create the features and news in the mass media. The aim of media relation is to optimize positive coverage in the mass media without having to spend money on advertising. Thus, if something newsworthy happens in a business, then a media list can help decide which media channels would be interested in covering the news. Moving further, objectives of media relations. First, hosting press releases filled with information in the interest of people. Next, playing the role of media's source of information. Third, making brand image better. Fourth, raising awareness, knowledge, and improving people's understanding. Next, boosting communication with investors, financial analysts, and stakeholders. Having an impact on government policy at the local, national, and global levels. Raising the marketing share. Altering the behavior and attitude of desired audience through media, making the relationship with journalists and media firms better, and finally keeping a list of personal names and publications in the media. Moving on to sources of media information. The first and the oldest, print media. The media forms that have been around the longest are newsletters, journals, magazines, newspapers, and other types of printed materials. These are together known as print media. The impact of print media has been quite important. It reports a lot more than any other source. Example, a lot of TV coverage only repeats news and stories which were first stated in newspapers. Moving on, press releases. The press release is also known as a press handout. It is released by an organization for publication. The businesses disseminating the press release or newspapers that cover and publish them do not receive money. It only improves the firm's public image. The goal of the press release is to keep people up to date about crucial events. Public relation departments put out press releases by stating figures and facts about what should be covered by the press. Next, television news. The television sector is quite diverse. There are thousands of programs in various official languages of every country. Next is radio news. Radio is one more way to broadcast. Television became popular in the 1950s. Before this, radio was the most popular broadcast medium. And finally, the internet. The internet is gradually changing news media. More and more people depend on online news sources and not the traditional broadcast and print media. Moving forward, possible reasons an organization may reach out to the media. First, aim to engage with the community. Next, participate in local or community activities. Third, visits from celebrities and senior members of the business. Fourth, business closure, strikes or disaster that have happened recently. Next, starting promotional campaigns for the business. Next, highlight awards and accolades received by the business. Next, state financial status of the business. Broadcast awards or events sponsored by the business. Launching new factories or offices. And finally, it could also be releasing a new product or service. Moving on to media relations versus public relation department. Usually, the phrase public relation and media relation are employed interchangeably. This is, however, wrong. Media relation is the relation that forms between a business and media. Public relation goes a step further to the general public from the media. Communication among journalists and the organization can be started by either party. Next, benefit of media relation to business. First, improves credibility. Next, thought leader spotlight. Third, product roundup. Fourth, SEO, social media and traffic management. Next, creates an authority in the line of business. Obviously improves brand awareness. And finally, endorsements from a third party. In this case, the media is the third party. Moving on to principles of good media relation. First, a relationship is both unavoidable and crucial between media and the business. The way the firm acts decides whether the relationship is positive or negative. Next, the firm should release statements to the public in one voice. They can appoint and train only one or multiple spokespeople with a coordinated statement. Third, the person most related to the event should be appointed as a spokesperson. If not, they have to be in touch with a spokesperson. Fourth, no comment statement should be ruled out. All queries have to be answered. Next, the firm should see the media as an ally in communication with people. They must not be seen as rivals or intruders. Sixth, the firm should hold itself accountable for different people, external or internal. Next, the firm must not try and control the media's agenda or their calculation of what deserves to be covered. Eighth, the Office for Media Relation must always be aware of the newsworthy events, especially those that can have a bad impact. Ninth, journalists should be held with professional assistance. This can be a working media room, access and parking permits. And finally, the firm should know that it will eventually get bad press. It should react by accepting it, processing it and recovering quickly. For example, Samsung's Note 7 failure led to a lot of negative press for Samsung. And finally, let's look at an example of media relation. Example, Tesla. The news website Electric says that Tesla has dissolved its media relation team in America. Unlike its competitors who spend huge money in marketing and advertising, Tesla avoids traditional methods for promoting its vehicles and brands. Its primary method for marketing products is the Twitter account of CEO Elon Musk, which has over about 49 million followers. His posts about new technology or features get reshared by many Twitter accounts and other websites. The move has been confirmed to by Electric at the highest level at Tesla, with the source saying, "We no longer have a PR team." Tesla still has a small PR team for Asia and Europe. However, the main global team based in America has been disbanded. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on media relation. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic in trends in advertising. Let's start with the first trend, sponsored content. There has been an increase in the number of ad blockers. Due to this, sponsored content has become an increasingly famous form of advertising. The message is incorporated in the form of unpaid content. This results in bypassing the ad blocker. Hence, visitors find it to be less irritating. Sponsored content includes in-feed advertising, advertorials, and promoted posts. Example of a sponsored content by Cristiano Ronaldo. The estimated average price per post by him is about $900,000. Ronaldo does brand endorsements very well. He is the ideal celebrity for any sports brand. Other celebrities fail to write a caption and just mention the brand. Ronaldo, on the other hand, does a thorough job by promoting the brand properly with a caption. Here's an example of post where he promoted shoes for Nike. Next example in this case is Dwayne Johnson. His estimated average price per post is about $1 million, and he also does justice to the brand he promotes. Next trend is of shorter video ads. Customers will watch any ad only if it's useful, relevant, and attention-grabbing. This has resulted in declining the amount of time spent watching an ad across almost every medium. This is leading brands to examine short videos. Their aim is to serve short attention spans and win against the skip button. Marketers now try to tell the story of a brand in under 15 seconds. These shorter bumper ads pose a creative challenge. The shorter video format needs impactful content, and the content needs to provoke an instantaneous emotional reaction from the viewer. One brand doing justice in this particular space are the commercials by Volkswagen for its brand of cars, Golf. The ads are short and to the point, and in most cases, they do not involve any audio. Moving on to the next of OTT advertising. Those who distribute streaming media on the internet are called over-the-top content providers. Traditional broadcast television has been disrupted by these services. It has resulted in a new era of consumers to cut the cord with cable and satellite services. The OTT industry currently has 3 video on-demand models that are dominating: subscription VOD, transactional VOD, and ad-supported VOD. The videos watched on the OTT streaming device can't be skipped, neither can an ad blocker be installed. This results in higher video completion rates for advertising on OTT advertising than in browser video ads. Moving on to the 4th trend of mobile advertising. In modern times, consumers rely more on their phones. The devices are used for news, shopping, and for a substantial amount of entertainment. Marketers are well aware of this. A lot of video recorded on mobile devices are now being captured in an upright format. This format is known as vertical video. This trend has led many brands into creating vertical advertisements. Vertical advertisements are aimed towards platforms like Snapchat, Instagram Stories, and Facebook. One brand to capture this trend was Starburst. A series of ads for Starburst, the fruit-flavored candy from Mars, were released for optimized viewing on mobile devices. The best enjoyed vertically ads backed the launch of Starburst swirlers. As per information shared with Mobile Marketeer, it is described as its first vertically shaped candy. The video shows scenes that look odd unless they are seen vertically as on a smartphone. DDB United States created this digital ad for Starburst under the category confectionery and snacks. Moving on to the 5th trend of user-generated content. Word-of-mouth marketing goes on to be a precious asset to brands even in the new digital age. All relevant content like videos, pictures, social media posts or reviews by unpaid fans of a brand is defined as UGC. UGC is extra budget conscious compared to other forms of marketing. It also generates 7 times more engagement as compared to regular brand-generated content. And the brand redefining UGC is GoPro. GoPro understands the value of UGC. It has created numerous incentivizing programs to generate UGC content. It searches killer content number of categories which exhibit the degree of product usage for GoPro cameras. Through GoPro Awards, prizes like money, equipment and social stock or tags and reshare from GoPro's official channels are offered. For instance, GoPro's $1 Million Challenge. GoPro's grand end of the year highlight reel allows entries only shot on the newest high-end camera launched by GoPro. Every user who submitted a clip gets an equal share of $1 million as a prize money. Next comes QR codes. A quick response code is also called a QR code. It is a 2D symbol very similar to the universal product code. When scanned by a QR code reader, it evokes a digital action. When it is scanned by a smartphone, it can initiate several actions. It can send an SMS, make a phone call, or open a website. Around 11 million households will scan a QR code in 2020 according to Statista. In 2021, due to the pandemic, the usage of QR codes has increased. This is not only because a QR code is versatile, but also because it is hygienic and safe. Some of the creative examples of a usage of QR codes are the first case at a virtual toy store at Walmart, where details about the toy are available only when you scan them. And then breathing new life into otherwise boring places with QR codes, a museum, and in this case a shopping mall in Singapore, where 4 life-size QR mascots were employed in a shopping mall in the embellished with a large QR code. Moving on to the 7th trend, programmatic advertising delivered through artificial intelligence. 2021 will reveal a new advertising trend. It is speculated that programmatic ads via artificial intelligence will be the new game changer of the year. It will be used to automate ad purchases. It has become increasingly challenging to govern as the range of channel used for reaching customers has grown significantly. The management of programmatic platforms through AI solves this problem. And one company nailing this is Albert Technologies. artificial solutions for agencies and brands are made by Albert Technologies. The software operates across channels like Facebook, YouTube, Google Ads, Instagram, and Gmail. It operates along the entire customer lifecycle. The company's autonomous digital marketeer is named Albert. Albert implements campaigns from start to finish. Insights from cross-channel data are also delivered by Albert. Industry impact? A client of Albert, Harley-Davidson, New York, witnessed an increase of 566% in website views. 40% of his motorcycle sales have also been credited to Albert. After the implementation of Albert, numerous other franchises of Harley-Davidson have started working with the AI digital marketer. And the final trend of live videos. By 2021, the live video industry is estimated to be worth $70 billion. It is extremely popular with customers. Compared to pre-recorded videos, people spend 3 times longer watching live video. It is also the most common way of learning about new products. Adding a live element makes the video more engaging. It makes the audience believe that they are part of it and can influence the content. It makes the audience feel that instead of watching passively, they can impact the content and are a part of it.
So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on advertising agency. Do subscribe to our channel where you'll witness such videos daily. Thank you and stay tuned for more videos.